enrolled in that?
So the scapular, I mean, the story of the Carmelites goes back to Mount Carmel in the Holy Land. And this is also the place where Elijah went to challenge the priests of the false god Baal. And you know, where he prayed around, he set up an altar for the true God, and they set up their own altar, and they called on their God to come and consume the sacrifice. And of course, their God didn't do anything. God's not real. And he kind of taunted them. He's like, hey, well, maybe he's sleeping. Why don't you wake him up? You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So then, you know, then afterwards they couldn't get anything going. So he called on his God. He said to prove to these people that he is the true God, and God sent fire from heaven to consume not only the sacrifice, but the wood and the altar and the trench filled with water around it. You know, he consumed everything. And so it was a proof, you know, that our God is real. And on this mountain, from those days forward, a group of monks, or a group of holy men, Jewish at the time, they set up camp on Mount Carmel and dedicated themselves to the mother of the future Messiah to come. And so this was a very unique situation, where the only thing that we have in recorded, I'm going to say history, but tradition, in recorded tradition, that there was some group dedicated to the mother of the Messiah. And legend has it, or I should say tradition has it, that they came down from the mountain on Pentecost and heard the good news from the apostles and the Blessed Mother herself. The good news of Jesus Christ, went back, you know, as baptized from that day forward, living as Christians. So centuries later, over time, you know, things happened in the Holy Land. It changed hands. It was invaded by the Muslims, and there were other invasions happening, as you know, things are still problematic there today. But so St. Helena built a chapel on Mount Carmel in the 300s. She was the mother of Constantine, who came to the Holy Land 4 times to bring all the relics of the Holy Land that she could find back to Rome, which is why you find so many of those in Rome now. So she built a chapel there that was torn down by the Muslims. In the 12th century, there's some monks went back there and dedicated themselves, built a chapel, and they dedicated it to Our Lady of Mount Carmel. And there was no apparition, or there was no type of revelation. That's what they called it, because they wanted to dedicate it to Our Lady, and it was on Mount Carmel. And in fact, the image they had inside the chapel was a Byzantine image of Our Lady's Star of the Sea, because from there you look out to the Mediterranean Sea. And she was the guiding light, right, to her son Jesus. And so it was dedicated to them. After the fall of the Christian kingdoms, the Christian kingdom in the Holy Land, they had to flee for their lives. And they ended up in England. And it was, it was St. Albert of Jerusalem who presented the rule of Mount Carmel. And later it was St. Simon Stock as the father general, or prior general of the Carmelite order, that had just recently moved to England. In Europe, there was all sorts of new orders. The Franciscans, Dominicans, and others were thriving, and everyone thought, we don't need another order, because they wear this funny Bedouin style habit, black and white striped. It was very unusual in Europe. And so he said, well, no, we definitely want to survive. And I'm going to pray to the Blessed Mother, a special prayer, and ask for divine protection on the order of the Carmelites. And so he wrote the Flos Carmeli prayer, which is still prayed every day today by the Carmelite order. And so they set up, and this was in 1247, he became the prior general. And in 1251, Our Lady responded to this request. He said, his promise was, in exchange for complete loyalty to you, Blessed Mother, right? Please protect us and our order. And she came and responded to that. And and the response was, she gave him the brown scapular, which was actually a long cloak in the front, a long cloak in the back, and it just went over the shoulders, right? It had a hole for the neck. And this is part of the Carmelite habit today. In fact, many religious orders wear this garment over, like the Benedictines wear black, right? And it's considered a scapular, front and back, and it rests on the scapula bone, which is why it's called that.
Yeah.
She, in exchange for this special privilege, she asked for this complete loyalty and divine protection in return. And she said, take this as a sign of protection. Whoever dies wearing this scapular shall not suffer eternal fire. So there was this promise of salvation and divine protection. It was protection in life and protection in death.